Are you in the market for a new doe or a new ewe, and perhaps you found yourself in a situation where you might be able to purchase a older model? That is to say, maybe a ewe or a doe that's been around for a few years and maybe a farm's getting rid of them. You found a deal and you want to check them out, make sure that they're right for you. Well, today we're going to go over how to check out a doe or a ewe that has a few miles on them, make sure that they're safe to bring home to your farm. Stay tuned to find out. It's Tim from Linessa Farms, specialty in heirloom livestock. Thanks for joining me again today. So today I want to take some time to go over a few ewes and does with a few miles on them. You know, a lot of times you may be able to pick up a ewe or a doe that comes from a breeding program on a farm. There's nothing wrong with them. Maybe they're just working them out of their flock because they're trying to get better genetics into their flock. Maybe they're just trying to get different genetics into their flock. The thing that you want to know is you want the key points that you need to look for when purchasing these animals to make sure that you're not bringing a problem child back to your farm. A lot of this is going to have to do with what kind of records they're able to provide you with, but there's a lot of things that you can check out on your own just by using your hands and your eyes. With that being said, I want to take some time today to go over an older ewe, a younger ewe, and we're also going to look at a doe together as well. All right, so we're out here on pasture and we have an older ewe here that we're going to take a look at. This is Mary Lou. Mary Lou is about 7 years old, and we're just going to use her as our example. I need to give her a once over anyways. Mary Lou is one of the oldest ewes that we have on our farm. She's a traditional polled Dorset, but we're going to treat her just like we would with any other animal. So if you can imagine you're out at someone's farm and they say, oh, we've got this sheep, you know, she's X number of dollars. You can take a look at her if you want to. Very simple. The first thing that we want to do is we want to start at the nose and we want to work our way all the way to the tail. First thing I want to look at starting at the nose is I want to see if she's got any runniness, snottiness, anything like that, which she doesn't. The next thing I want to look at is her teeth. Now she's a mature ewe and I can tell by looking at her teeth that she's a mature ewe. You can see the spacing in there, you can see how they're worn down, but you can see that they are all intact. I don't have any broken teeth, and her bite is correct. Her bite sits well. She's not she doesn't have an overbite. She's not off side to side. Everything looks good there. So I'm going to work my way back to the eyes. I don't see any cloudiness in either one of the eyes. They both appear clear. There's no damage. And when I check the eyelid, pop that eyelid down, it's nice and pink. So I know she more than likely does not have a worm load. While I'm up here, I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to feel underneath her jawline, down her neck, and all the way down here. What am I feeling for? Well, I'm feeling for CL. I'm feeling for any lymph nodes that might be enlarged that would tell me that she may have CL. She's going to have, if she's going to have CL, she's going to have it here underneath the jawline, going down the sides of the neck. I'm going to check the axillary area. These are those armpits. Work my way back along the body, and I'm going to feel back here behind the front armpits. Again, feeling for any kind of lumps. Working my way back and around, and I'm feeling back here for any kind of lumps, and back here, and I don't feel anything. I'm gonna feel the ribs while I'm here. The ribs feel good. Again, if we feel like the top of our finger, she's a little too skinny. If it feels like the top of our arm, she's a little too fat, and if it feels like the back of our hand, she's just right. Mary Lou here is just right. While I'm looking, I'm gonna find that last rib, and I'm gonna look for distance. I want to see about at least 50% in the front and 50% in the back. Ideally, I want to see 40 in the front and 60% length in the back. What I don't want to see is 60% length in the front and 40% length in the back. I want a nice long loin. She looks good. I don't see any signs and symptoms of mange or anything like that. I work my way back around to the dock. Everything looks good here. She's got a little bit of looser stool, but in this case, I know she's okay. I know she's out on pasture and she's just been eating well. She looks okay back here from what I can see. As I am doing my way around, I'm gonna go ahead and take a good look at her hooves and see how her hooves look. She is good. She doesn't have any hoof rot. You can just break them right there at the knee to take a look at the feet. And I'll just work my way around and check. She looks good. The next thing that I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and grab her, and I'm going to flip her on her butt. The reason I'm going to do this is because I want to take a look at her teat structure. So I'm just going to grab her head, come around, push her down. I'm going to flip her up, just like this. And now I want to take a look at the teat structure. This is very, very important. I'm going to take a look at it and I'm going to feel it. So she has 2 teats. They're both up here functional. There's nothing weird going on there. And I'm feeling her bag. Her bag is nice and soft. She has no hard lumps, anything like that. If you feel any hard lumps, if you feel any kind of granulomas, anything like that, that's a problem. And she is a no-go. Overall, taking a look at Mary Lou here, I think she looks pretty good. She's structurally correct. Like I said, the mouth looks good. She doesn't have worms. Hoofs look good. Last thing I'm gonna wanna do is go ahead and take the halter off of her and cut her loose. I'm gonna wanna take a look at her. I wanna see how she walks. I wanna see if she's pigeon-toed. I wanna see if she's splayed out. I wanna see if she has, if she's cowhocked to where her feet splay out or her hips splay out. The other thing I want to look at in her is I want to look at her front shoulders, and I want to make sure that these points aren't too blown apart, that they're nice and in line with her feet. All right, so we're going to take a look at our goat. Same basic premise. We're going to start at the nose. We're going to work our way back to the tail, and we're going to look at the same basic things. Again, I want to start with the nose. Make sure she's not got a snotty, runny nose or anything like that. And her teeth look good. She's got that tongue wanting to stick out. Poke that tongue back in there, honey. She's not being choked at all. I assure you this is loose. She just got that tongue that likes to stick out. So her bite is really, really nice. She's obviously 1, 2, 3 going on 4 years old, but her teeth look good and her bite looks good. She's got nice pink gums. Her nose looks good. Looking at her eyelid, nice and pink. Both eyes look good. I'm feeling underneath the jaw, down the throat, down the front and behind the front legs, going back down the sides, feeling back here and feeling back here. Everything looks good. I don't feel any bumps, anything like that. You notice her coat looks nice and shiny and full. I'm just gonna peel up her hair a little bit. I'm just looking for any kind of lice, keds, mange, anything like that. Everything looks really good with her. So that is good. Now, same thing, I'm gonna break her leg backwards like that. Check out her hooves. Hooves look good. We don't have any hoof rot, anything like that. I would work my way around, look at every hoof and make sure that it is okay. I wanna look at the tail. I'm looking for fishtail. That would be baldness in here where the tail would look split apart like that. That's a sign of copper deficiency. She has no scours. Back end looks really good. Everything looks great. She had a baby recently come off of her, so she's still bagged out a little bit. Bag is nice and supple. There's no lumps or anything like that. So overall, she is looking really good. Again, I'm gonna feel the ribs, make sure that I've got at least a 50-50 split. Again, ideally 40 in the front, 60 in the back, or at least 50-50. I just don't want more length up front than I have in the back. And again, I'm talking from the last rib to the dock of the tail. Now, when I feel the ribs, again, she feels good. Again, this is too thin, this is too fat, and this is just right. Just use that hand trick. Right now, feeling her ribs, she's a little bit over conditioned, but that beats the alternative of being under conditioned. Overall, she looks really good. I like her color. I like everything about her. She's a dairy boar cross. I think she would fit in great if anybody wanted to add in, you know, something that's going to make a little bit more milk into their program. So again, watching her walk, we're not going to let her off the halter to let her walk, but I watched her walk when she came over here. She's walking nice and straight. She's not pigeon-toed. She doesn't have cow hocks. And again, these points up here, she's a little bit wider, but her legs are in line with her points. So she looks good. So overall, good doe. I'd be more than happy to give her the seal of approval and send her off to anybody's farm without a doubt. Hey everyone, if it's your first time with us, thanks. If you've been following us for a while, thank you even more. We really appreciate everyone and everything that you do for Linessa Farms to keep us going. We have lots of opportunities for you to learn more about sheep and goats. Primarily, the thing I wanted to bring to your attention is our group that we have on Facebook. It's called Linessa Farms Tack Box. think of it as a forum where all kinds of different people from all over the world get together. We can talk about sheep and goats. It's very well maintained. You get answers very quickly. And if there's any trolls on there, we just immediately eject them. All right, so we've got a Yearling U here that we're going to look at. Again, same basic things that we've talked about before. You know, when you start looking at these animals, you want to start looking from the tip of the nose all the way back to the end of the tail. First thing I like to look for is I like to check the nose, make sure that we don't have a bunch of snot bubbles or anything else coming out. I'm going to check these teeth, make sure that these teeth are good, make sure she doesn't have overbite, she's not scissor mouth, anything like that. Everything looks good there. Pop this eyelid down. Look, she's nice and red. Everything looks good there. No deformities or anything in the ears and the eyelids. Those look good. What I like to do now is I like to start underneath the jaw, and I like to feel underneath the jaw all the way down the neck, in front of the shoulders here and in behind. What I'm feeling for is any kind of nodules. This is where I would discover CL abscesses if she were to have any. We're feeling these areas where the lymph nodes would be in the body. Everything looks really good there. Now, we're not going to get too much into conformation today. This is just a general health check that I would want you to consider to check if you're looking at these animals for breeding stock. So again, you know, checking conformation is something that you can get into later, but again, our focus today is just general health and well-being. So we're checking for that CL. Going back up to the front, again, not getting too far ahead of myself, I want to check these points. We've talked about points before with our males. We want to make sure that she's got nice wide shoulders, but the points aren't so blown out that they're far away from or too far out from the legs. The legs kind of go nice and in line, and we'll see her as she walks and see how she looks. Overall, the hooves look good. I don't see any hoof rot, anything like that. I'm going to walk around and look at every individual hoof. Look for any redness, discharge, smell, anything like that. She is looking good. I'm feeling over the rib cage when I get my hands on her. I'm checking for that hand judgment that we've talked about before with body weight. So again, if I feel the top of my hand, if I feel my fingers, this is what the ribs would feel like if that animal were under conditioned. If I feel the top of my arm, this is what those ribs would feel like if she's over conditioned. And the back of my hand is just about right. And that is about what she feels like to me right now. When I feel those ribs, it feels like the top of my hand. I can barely feel those ribs, but I have good fat cover. I would say she's just about perfect as far as body condition is concerned. Next thing I want to do is find that last rib, put my thumb on that last rib, and I want to judge my distance from the front shoulder to the last rib and from the last rib to the back. Now, right now, she's about 40% length in the front and about 60% length in the back. She's exactly what we want to see. At minimum, we want to see 50%. 50%. Worst case scenario, which we don't want to see, is more length in the front than in the back. In that case, carcass is a little bit too short for us, and she's not going to produce what we want to see as far as our animals are concerned. That may not be a deal breaker for you, but in an ideal situation, you definitely want to look for those length characteristics. So the next thing I'm going to do, work my way to the back. I know she doesn't have any scours, anything like that. Anatomically, she looks correct. I'm going to feel and look at her teat structure. She has two nicely well-defined teats. I'm feeling her bag. She doesn't have any lumps or anything like that. With some of these older ewes that you may run into, you may notice that they have some lumps. If they have lumps on one side or both sides, that's a sign that they've had a previous infection and they've developed what's called a granuloma. That granuloma can be problematic and can be a sign that they either are not producing milk right now, or sometime in the near future they're going to stop producing milk. When I look at her from the side, I want to look at her pasterns. So right here where the foot breaks, I want to make sure that it goes nice and down, nice and straight down as it does. Broken pasterns would be where that foot goes out and the back of this foot is laying close to the ground. That's a genetic problem that will carry through. I'm going to have Tessa just kind of walk her around so I can see her walk, make sure that she's not pigeon-toed, make sure that she doesn't have cowhock or anything like that. Tessa, go ahead and spin her in a circle so I can see her walk. Go ahead and walk her straight, just like you were going to show her. Good. She looks good. She walks correctly. Again, those pasterns look good. And she follows in her own footsteps really well. When I say follow in her own footsteps, what I mean is that where this foot leaves the ground, the back foot comes up and steps into that spot. That's a good characteristic to have as far as walking and how they should look when they're walking properly. Other than that, she looks really good. She would definitely make a good ewe for someone to pick up. I don't see any defects with her that worry me. Again, we would want to look at any kind of health backgrounds that we could find, any kind of records, see what kind of babies she's had, if she's had them, any kind of medical issues that she's had, how often she needs to be wormed, what she's been wormed with, any fecal samples or anything like that. But again, overall, nice looking ewe. I'd be proud to send her off to any farm.